Looks like we are recording. What
That's
up,
right.
though, people? It is your boy, Brandon Dent, a.k.a. DetroitKoolAid, and you're rocking out with the Woodward Pistons podcast.
That's right.
As you
Last time
guys
I
can
saw
see.
you, man, you were in tears.
Oh, my God. Hey, dog, T-Foss over here, he's trying to rip off the Band-Aids from that draft lottery, man. I'm still kind of reeling from that. It's almost like you knew it was going to happen, but it still sucks, man. It's like as soon as I saw the number 5, I saw the assistant commissioner walk up, number 5 pick, start to kind of pull that card up. And as soon as I saw his face smirk, it just felt like it was to all of Detroit, even before I saw the card. Hey, Detroit Pistons. It was just like, okay, go figure.
Yeah, that
go
doesn't
figure,
happen in
man.
other cities.
Nah.
But, you know, the thing is, I was disappointed. You young guys and
Tell
women,
me about it.
y'all were upset, but y'all weren't mad. You weren't kicking over chairs. You didn't break any windows. You didn't fuck anybody up. Y'all just kind of took it.
You know what? We're going to get into that. Let me get you drum rolled in here first. Look, guys, I know you see the name placard says Jeff Freddy, and we got Mr. Everything here today.
Yeah.
But we had to start this thing off right with another legend today. Shout out to Detroit News Rod Beard. He couldn't be on today. He is actually doing something pretty cool, and I'm going to let him talk about it on the next episode. But we got this legend over here, Terry Foster. You guys already know. I mean, what? Nominated for the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame?
Yes, sir. So vote for me, please.
Woo! Let's get it going. Let's get this drum roll going for the legend. Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome to the legend, Terry Foster, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Went to the dentist and they didn't do anything to me today.
You know what? That's a great day, actually.
Mhm.
That's a great day. And I'd be remiss if I didn't call it out, man. It was part of my pop style. I promise you I wore it too when I was younger. I'm trying to go and get some clean ones now. This Kango hat that he has on, it's fire, man. It's fire. I had to call it out.
All right,
I
cool.
had to,
And you know,
man.
the thing is, I can wear it in the summer and the winter.
Hey, I like it. Listen, but what matters is this. How does it attract the ladies?
Well, I'm not in that anymore. I'm married. No, I don't know.
The legend, people.
Probably if you
he
had
keeps
it,
his
I mean, you
he
could
keeps his
get something.
secrets. He keeps his secrets to himself. But listen, man, you're right.
I'm an old ass man. Women don't want me.
Yo, this episode's gonna be wild. I'm telling you guys. But look, that number 5 pick, man. I wanted to be upset. I wanted to be like throwing things, just throw the trash can through the window, like upset. But it was almost as if, and I think all of Detroit expected this to happen, man. Like I almost feel like everybody is like, you know what, this is just what happens. It's this kind of bout of Detroit versus everybody and beyond. It's not even just Detroit versus everybody anymore. It's not even like, Detroit versus everybody kind of gives off this semblance that we're actually fighting and kind of, equaling this out. We're getting pummeled, man.
You're getting pumped. But the other thing is, Detroiters are a little bit of pansies too. Because you think everybody's after us, blah blah blah, but this one was scandalous.
This one was the one.
I can't believe. And here's the other thing. Well, you got the number 5 pick. We'll trade out of it. Now you can't trade out of it because everybody who's not getting Wembanyama wants to trade out of 2, 3, 4. So they're gonna look at your 5 pick as garbage, even more garbage now.
Man, and
this is really screwed.
Yeah, no, and I gotta have you on the platform more, a lot more, because I love Terry's perspective. I mean, how long did you cover the Pistons? You covered the Bad Boys. You covered.
I think it was 8, 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that is because we did a breakdown on here, and I'm gonna have to do a part 2 on this. I want your perspective. We did a breakdown where we covered how the Detroit Pistons, the Bad Boys, were kind of put together from the time that they drafted Isaiah to kind of the time when they got Joe, with some time in between that to when they were actually like the Bad Boys, which was some years back. And I want to have you back on for that. And so I just want people to know and to continue to know. I know many might know you from your radio, your time in radio, your time here, your time writing, your time zinging the Lions over the years. But man,
that's over.
Yeah, yeah, right. But the Pistons, man, that was one of those heartbeats. And I know that people see your face, hear your voice in these documentaries and such. talking about him. So I wanted to be able to make sure we got your perspective on this stuff, man. Like, what do the Pistons need to do? Because you saw how the Bad Boys, whether they were getting top picks or not, how they kind of overcame some of these things and made sure that their rebuild or whatever you want to call what they were doing came to fruition with this team. Because you're right. After that first pick and not getting second or third, the value of that fifth just seems to be, I don't know what they can do. I almost feel like the better value might be to pick a player there. What does this team need to do from here?
I would not take that fifth pick. I would trade. I would beg anybody to take that pick from me. The Pistons, I mean, when you go in the locker room, it smells like acne cream because they're so young. I always believe this: you need an old head or two in the room
who can play.
Yes, one of them doesn't even have to play. For instance, the Pistons, the going to work Pistons, they had David West, who couldn't play, but he would tell them, you know, here, this is what we need to do, blah, blah, blah. Isaiah Thomas, oh, shoot, what's the dude's name? I forget, but he had an older guard who kind of mentored him when he was younger. This team is just too young. I mean, bottom line, when an NBA team looks at the Pistons, they're like, oh, these are 22-year-old dudes. We ain't losing to them. We ain't using just some fresh bloods.
Jeez, you're right. You're right. It's just like stepping out on any court, man. Sometimes we look at the pros, and though they have a definite athletic advantage and skill set and things, and this is their craft, it's still basketball. When you're stepping out there on any court and you see people that you believe are younger, believe might not have that man weight yet, it's something where you just kind of go, yeah, we're not losing to them. It's almost like teams step on the court with a competitive advantage.
It's like you go on the blacktop and you in high school. You was junior or senior in high school, and you're playing against some middle school. I don't care how talented we ain't losing these clowns. First of all, they're not mature. They're 5'5", and we're gonna take care of them. We're gonna handle them. Now we might let them in the game, and we say, okay, it's time to decide something. You know how that is.
Yeah,
I think that's what they do with the Pistons. And the Pistons now and then they get somebody, but they can't sustain anything. Too young. I'm glad that you kind of brought up that analogy. I haven't thought about that yet. I've been sitting here trying to figure out what exactly it is. I've been saying we need some vets who can absolutely play and some people who can play and mentor and who's, you know, hey, we respect what they're saying. We need those guys here. But I was trying to figure out what absolutely is going on because we have some high IQ young players. But I'm realizing that don't solve everything. And they play well on one side of the floor. They got athletic skills. Now, I'm going to say something. I don't want to get you in trouble because I know you love the Pistons.
Look, man, talk about it.
Last year, I don't care what anybody, they tanked.
Yeah.
I mean, Bogdanovich, was he really injured for that long? You know, I know Cade was out.
Yeah,
but
Stewart was out.
But could they have played? I don't know, bro.
Burks.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whole bunch of. They just said, okay, you know what? I think we're going to tank for victory. That's what, and maybe the NBA is punishing them for that. This is, we know y'all weren't legit, so we're not giving you the number 1, 2, or 3 pick. We're gonna dump your ass down to 5 because what you did was scandalous. Maybe.
Listen, they put out the press release that said that they positioned themselves to be where they're at, both in the draft and free agency. And so, yeah, I do believe that the Pistons in their GM and what they're doing in the front office. What up, D-Mac? I believe that they are doing things differently than previous ones. And I think it's going to get them some success, but I think some of it has been a little clumsy. I think some of it has been.
Troy Weaver said in his not his press conference, but his press release without saying it, we tanked.
Yeah. Yes.
We put ourselves in position to get the number 1 pick.
That's what I mean. It's like, man. And I know he was trying to reach out to the fans, but goodness gracious, you got a league out here right now that will fine teams that say that they're openly tanking based on like the new rules and such, or at least try to find some way to punish them. And it's just like, yeah, maybe if you're going to do it, we just continue to do it the way that I felt like they did it in previous years.
Yeah, they punished them by giving the number 5 pick. And really, when you look beyond the first 3 guys, it's like second-round draft picks, everybody else. Who wants them? So I would trade that 5 pick if I could. I don't want it. I'm not taking that pick. You can have it. Put it in your back pocket. But I'm gonna try to get a vet in here.
And that is what I want. I do believe we need the vet. It was something that I was telling the guys as well. They were talking about, if you were, when we were talking about our Scoot Henderson versus Brandon Miller debate,
right?
My whole thinking was that I believe we need a vet to play the role that Brandon Miller can play. Not that we don't want to sign or draft a young player that can also play that position, because Troy Weaver identified it as their biggest weak spot. That position is probably and usually the most versatile defensively and offensively, that 3-and-D wing. Right. But I keep feeling like they can find that in free agency. In back-to-back free agencies, right? They found their wing. One year they thought they needed the defensive wing, and they went out there and just got Jeremy Grant. They literally went the next year and said, well, let's go and get Bojan Bogdanovic, another type of a wing. I believe that the Pistons can go out there and sign that person, sign that vet, or trade for that vet who can come in here and absolutely play this kind of, I have this voice, I have the talent to back it up, and I can actually play a little bit of defense, which is something that I believe that was beyond the weak spot. Bad? Beyond
I'm telling you,
that was
the most pissed I was about the Pistons. They're playing the Boston Celtics, and Jason Tatum doesn't even have the ball yet. He's on the wing way out here. And then I forget who else. Somebody threw him the ball. And there's 3 Pistons in the lane. Mm-hmm. And Tatum takes it, dribbles outside the lane, into the lane, dunks on him. And you got 3 Pistons looking at you. Damn, this dude's pretty good.
As soon as you brought it, as soon as you said the Celtics and you said his name, I was like, okay, I remember the play.
And I'm thinking, I wish I would have tried to do something about it.
Yeah. I think I used to believe it was about effort, and then you start to realize there is something to individually skilled defensive players. We identified in the beginning of the season that the Detroit Pistons didn't have too many of those guys at all across the board. Killian Hayes was somebody that we identified as being above average, and Cade Cunningham, when we actually got into the numbers and looking at it, how kind of how versatile he was. He was able to guard the 1 through the 5, depending on the 5. Last year,
we think Killian Hayes is above average
defense. I thought he was, but this past year, there were things that I thought he should have taken steps forward on. He's looked
I thought you about his overall game, because I remember
no defense.
Yeah, I remember my man was shooting 16% from the floor at one point. Then he boosted up to 35%. We're like, yeah, go Killian, go.
He finished the season on a comfortable 10-6. He has to mentally take some huge steps forward, because we all know that the talent's there for him. And that's the thing with a lot of these guys. Like Killian and Cade are 2 of them that are just like, man, we got to get Cade on the court. We got to get Killian in his mind right. But they're 2 guys that, when you're talking about point guard and backup point guard, they're literally, to me, the best defensive players, or at least from the perimeter spot on the team.
And that's sad, because you know
that is sad.
If the Pistons become title contenders, you know what role Killian Hayes is going to play?
I feel like he's going to play the Kojo role on a title.
I don't know what role he's going to play, but it's going to be in Sacramento or Los Angeles or Boston or Charlotte. It's going to be somewhere else. He's not going to be on this team.
And that's what we're getting at here. It's like the lack of individual talent from a defensive perspective is why the team struggles so much. There wasn't a scheme that you could really put out there, and that these guys, like, there was lacks of measurables, lack of athleticism, lack of speed, though I believe that they were trying very hard. And then you also have to factor in what you stated. They're young players, lack of experience, lack of, these older players have little nuances and wrinkles. So if you're going out there trying to play your position, well, what if this more veteran player that you're trying to defend cuts off his cut, stops his cut a little bit short, and instead of going backdoor, cuts in front of you? I've seen some of our defenders look back for the cut, and the guy just breaks it off and goes right in front of him.
Well, whoever's playing center or power forward is supposed to call that play out. They're supposed to communicate. Do they even talk when they're on defense?
Oh man, they lost a lot when Stu went out. They lost a lot when Isaiah Stewart's out there. I hear him. I see Jalen Duren talking too, but Jalen Duren was only getting about 20 minutes a game, 21 minutes a game. When those 2 guys are not in there, and when they have to play them separate, it's just like, man, when they played together, I liked it, because it allowed Stewart, who's a little bit undersized for the 4 position, It allowed them, though, to be able to roam a little bit more, to provide more help side defense.
I got a homework assignment for you.
To a kind of horrible perimeter defense.
You ready for your homework assignment?
I'm ready for it.
When you go to Piston games, yell, talk when they're on defense. Talk. Because a lot of teams don't talk. And when they don't talk, you get burned on defense. Because there's a lot of stuff happening out there on the court that we don't see, but the guys underneath do see, and they see it before the guards see it. And
man, oh man. So, sheesh. So they got this talent up top. Okay, it's undeniable with the Cade and Ivy, in my opinion. I like Duren, but beyond that, how many high basketball IQ defensive players do you see on this team? Just people that you say, you know what, they might not be here today, but I believe that based on who they are, they can get here. Because what guy, if you take Isaiah Stewart, throw him in there, you take these two guys out, what guys on the squad are you comfortable with even calling out the defense?
Give you beef stew
and Duren, and he's still young, so he can't.
Duren doesn't really know, but I have every confidence in the world that at some point he's going to get it.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't see many other trajectories, man.
Yeah, the rest of them just out there,
man. And so we're talking about, when we're talking about the defense, we're talking about Killian. I will throw him in there defensively. Cade, Ivy, we have hopes for. He has to get better, and he has stated that as well. Duren and Beef Stew. Isaiah Livers, but he has to stay healthy as well. I will put him in there. I know people like Hami.
Now, can I talk about somebody old?
That's about 5 or 6 players at best, man.
Going to work with Ben Wallace. Yeah. Ben Wallace
talked
at times. Yeah, he talked, but he didn't like the way his teammates were playing defense. When later on, after 2004, he would cuss them out in the locker room. Y'all better get your shit together. This is not how we're gonna win. Yeah, you can. Yeah, Chauncey, you could score 30 points if you want. We're still gonna lose. So the only way we're gonna win is if we play defense. And they were scared of Ben. Ben was, swolled up, big, a little bit crazy. We don't publicize that, but Ben was a little bit nuts. And so those dudes like, oh man, Ben is pissed. So we would get ourselves together. Then they play defense.
Keep him happy, man.
Right.
Shoot.
No, they didn't want Ben punching him in the face. So that's what the deal was.
And you know what? You need a guy like that. So it's like, when we're talking about where we believe Duren can get in terms of his knowledge on defense, I do believe in terms of the way he carries himself that Isaiah Stewart can get to the place that Ben Wallace was. But you also have to match that with the talent sometimes. But I believe that kind of heartbeat, that soul that Beef Stew has, I believe it can work. There's a lot of people who want to see him start. I love him. I love what he brings. I believe he needs to be on the team. I believe that for this team to take the next steps, it's similar to what Troy was saying. They have to get bigger, but not just bigger, more versatile. There were some plays where, a defender or offensive player is just grabbing the rebound right over Beef Stew's head, or because of, hand size, things of that nature, your lob packages and your pick and roll game is completely different. I want to see Cade and Ivy be able to go out there with 2 legitimate lob threats. 2 legitimate, like, hey, when we do a pick and roll, this is a 7-1 guy coming down the court who I can throw it up. Like a lob threat like Andre Drummond. A lob threat like Marvin Bagley when he's healthy. That's what this team needs a little bit more of. And then on the defensive side, guys who can be versatile. I like the fact that Isaiah Stewart can do the switch, the pick and roll switch and guard the guys on the perimeter. Duren has shown some ability, but they need a lot more because teams are coming in and absolutely picking on the young talent. They're picking on the lack of experience, like you said it. And honestly, they're just kind of bullying them. I sometimes I try to, measure and meter how much I look into what the season was, because there was a lot of people who didn't play. That it looked like they were absolutely tanking.
Yes.
But even if they weren't tanking, it's still the guys they bring back. It's just Beef Stew is the only one that is really going to bring a punch on defense. And when he was there, we still saw how bad the Pistons were overall. So, when we're talking about that number 5 pick in the draft and what the Pistons need to do with it, or what they need to do to kind of move themselves forward, it's got to be defense, defense, defense. I mean,
What would you do with it?
I mean, there's some players that I like. I like Cam Whitmore. I like Asar Thompson. I like Taylor Hendricks. Jeff has really, 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 really been talking to me about Taylor Hendricks. I like some of these guys that are there. But the more and more that you're talking about these needs and how much defense we need and what Troy Weaver was able to do with that future first round pick last year, they got him 6 players. Look at 6 different players from the Knicks, including Jalen Duren and Alec Burks, who we kept. Got us to look at Nerlens Noel, Kemba Walker, Kevin Knox. We got to look at those guys. Kept 2 of them who we know are bona fide assets in Duren and Alec Burks. So it's like when you're talking about that value with a pick that's supposed to convey later in the first round, I am kind of interested in what can this 5th pick get. It's just a matter of what other teams out there are saying, you know what, yeah, I want to kind of climb up this draft for that 5th pick. So my hope is that someone like a Brandon Miller falls, one of those guys that in that 2 or 3 spot. If they fall, then I believe that 5th pick becomes very, very potent. And then,
but why would they fall? Here's the other thing: the Pistons don't just play bad defense. Have you ever heard the story about the 99-pound weakling on the bench on the beach? Gets his ass kicked in front of his woman. That's what the Pistons get. They get beat up. They say, y'all ain't even worthy to be on the same court with us. So they just smack them around. Say, get your little weak ass off the court. So it's not just playing bad defense. Other teams just punking them.
Shout out Mr. Aya Freddy. Doing everything, running around, doing a ton of stuff. But you're right. You're right. And they need to inject a lot of that quickly. I know that people were like, you know, hey, let's get Grant Williams in here to start the season. Obviously, they saw and they're seeing kind of how the playoffs are going right now. A lot of people cooled on that, cooled on the idea of Grant Williams, and they see him barking at Jimmy Butler, and it's just like, I don't know if Grant Williams is the guy, but the more and more and more and more we're talking about this, the more I'm like, don't they have to go all out for a person like Draymond Green?
That's a tough one. The Draymond Green from 5 years ago, I think Draymond is played out. I think Draymond is clowning too much. His act will kind of work with Golden State, but you bring him to a young team, and is he going to punch Cade Cunningham? I mean, then that's the end of the game right there.
Yeah.
But a guy I wanted, and I was told they can't get him. They can't get him at the beginning. This is JaVale McGee. He's not a good offensive player, but he can block some shots.
He talks.
Yeah, he talks.
He talks.
But I mean, let's look at Miami.
He's from here.
Why is Miami in the spot there? Now, everybody is giving love to Spoelstra, and I'm not going to take it away. But the reason they are is because Jimmy Butler is a motherfucker. He is. He will embarrass you in practice. He will embarrass you on the floor.
He's not trying to lose any time, bro.
He'll kick your ass, and then he goes out on the floor. Do you need 15 and 10 for me tonight? That's what you'll get. Do you need 30 for me tonight? That's what you're going to get.
This was in my notes for the show today, man.
Yeah.
Look at this boy.
Right. Yeah, he is something else. Now, I talked to Skinny Vinny, Vince Goodwill. He said,
hey, shout out Vinny Goodwill.
Nice guy off the court. But you don't want to be his teammate clowning because he's going to get on you.
Jimmy Butler is the player, the absolute player. Look, we've had stars. We got a lot of different guys in this league who are great. Jimmy Butler is the player I have routinely over the last 8 years, six years, I guess, more concentratedly. Over the last 6 years, we'll say. I have routinely stated, please do whatever you have to do to get that man into a Detroit Pistons jersey because it's just a different level of dog. Like, we need more of that. We need a lot more of that on this squad or injected into these guys. And I believe that for a lot of the young guys, like I see it in Ivy. I see it in Cade when he's out there, especially that last stretch before he got hurt, averaging that kind of 28, 8, and 8. I see it in Duren, definitely. But we need a lot more of that, especially on the wing, man. It's like Miami kind of crafts their teams with players cut from that cloth. It's almost like they go after that skill set and value that even more so than what a person can do on the offensive side of the floor. They want people who are just going to absolutely get after you constantly.
True. Now, if you bring in Jimmy Butler,
oh my goodness, what
you're
a dream.
going to be upset about something he's going to do. You know he's going to go after?
Who?
He's going to go after Cade Cunningham. He's going to say
I thought you were going to say Killian.
No, he's going to. No, that one is
alpha
obvious.
Male on alpha.
That's obvious. But he's going to say, Cade, bro, you got to be tougher. You talented. You got to do better than this. All right?
Cade has to be a superstar, man.
Right. And he will probably get that out of him. You go. And the other thing, who's going to be the coach?
That was where we were about to go next.
Yeah.
That's where we were going to go next.
I hear, no.
Let's talk about it.
I hear these people out here who think they know everything. They need to get a big name, experienced coach. No, they don't. You need to get a young guy who can identify with these young brothers and is going to, they need more motivation than X's and O's.
Put the experience with them on the bench as a
Right.
player, but get an X's and O's guy who can grow with them, who's not bringing, you know what?
Let the X's and O's guy be the assistant coach.
Yeah, and let this new coach be somebody. I don't think people know what you mean when you say he can grow with them. There are a lot of like established coaches who they come in and they bring their way. You're not really growing with a team when you emphasize your way. And usually teams who have done it their way for so long, that's when they bring in that type of a coach, like the Woodward Pistons with Larry Brown. Now it's time to play the right way. It's now time to submit to his style because clearly what we're doing, we want to go to the next step. You know, and so when you're talking about getting a young coach, one that can grow, he's not necessarily coming in with this mindset of, I have it all figured out right now. He may have a plan, but it may be, how do I best utilize these young players? And it also may be, how do I differentiate or go away or augment or create the new system? You know, like I know Casey already has this system, but is he augmenting it? These younger coaches are coming in and they are not only having their system that they came in with, but augmenting and finding ways to use their athletic players and new wrinkles. Like I would love to see Ivy in some dribble handoffs. I would love to see him in some backcourt action, like backcut action. Why didn't, bro, they ran it in Summer League. They didn't really run it in the regular season. I don't know if it was personnel, but they didn't really run a lot of cut actions and backdoor screens and lobs and throw the ball up. Ivy's the type of guy who can go and grab the ball off the rim, throw the ball up there. Why didn't we use him in those types of packages? You know, I just don't know.
Probably wasn't thought of.
And that's why
that's why, you know, I think Larry Brown, not Chuck Daly, was the best coach in Pistons history.
Ooh.
But if Larry Brown were available, I would not hire him now.
Right.
I would hire I'd even hire some dude off, maybe not an AAU team, but some dude that's like in his late 30s, early 40s, that's just got new, fresh ideas and can hit these guys.
That's got to be the thinking with Kevin Ollie.
Yeah, that's probably is. But, you know, get them motivated, stimulated.
That's what they say Kevin Ollie is. I know that a lot of people are kind of down on him. A lot want Charles Lee or Jaren Collins out of the 3 finalists. But Kevin Ollie continues to be a person who rises to the top of these rumors. Now, Jaren Collins supposedly impressed the brass. He's the one who came in and just absolutely impressed everybody with his interviews. But Kevin Ollie is the one that seems to be attached to Troy Weaver. And he seems to fit, honestly, a lot of what you were talking about. He's not necessarily AAU coach, but he is working with these younger players. He knows where the game is headed. He absolutely knows. The Detroit Pistons have been a franchise who have been just on the bad side, man, of just getting left behind in an era. Like they went triple big with Josh Smith, Andre Drummond, and Greg Monroe when that would have worked 5 years prior. Then they cashed out on Andre Drummond. Got a few good years, but clearly those eras were passing them by. You know, even the going to work Pistons and how they tried to re-up after that. They continued to put themselves in a position where they were just getting phased out. Now I see Troy Weaver trying to almost put them ahead of the curve by going after people like Kevin Ollie and drafting players as young as Jalen Duren. You're getting these new age type of players. That's why they can go and say things like, Jalen Duren is looking like the new Sean Kemp. and not the new Andre Drummond. He's looking like something different. He was trained to be different. And these young players, I used to hoop, man. Like I led the whole area, man. I led the whole area in scoring. You know, Romulus, downriver, all of that. I led it in scoring, beating out the guys in Romulus, you know, beating out the guys at Redford. The guys hooping today, I don't understand what they're doing. They look like college players today. They were not looking like that when I was playing in high school ball. And that's what I mean. So it's like, to your credit and to your point, and to maybe what they're looking at with Kevin Ali, maybe he understands where the game is headed. He's involved in where the game is headed. He's coaching guys from high school age to freshman and sophomore age in college. He's a part of their development, and then he has this whole aspect of being professional that's been attached to him. He did win a title with UConn. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, it's with his players. Okay, we see how much coaching matters now. We know that players do matter, but we see how much coaching matters too. What is your overall thought on the whole aspect of Jarron Collins, Charles Lee, Kevin Ali? You know, we got the championship experience, the guys with NBA coaching experience in Jarron Collins and Charles Lee. They both are on championship winning squads. Jarron 3 times with the Warriors. And during that time, they had their best defense that they've had. They haven't had better defense without them during their championship, you know, during their hot runs. Then you have Charles Lee, who is said to be able to relate. He's like 38 years old, under 40, able to relate with players, stars, young guys, bench players, everybody in between, as well as he was involved with the championship run the Bucks had. Then you have Kevin Ali, who not the NBA experience, but actually has some of the traits that you were saying you kind of want out of a coach. Which one is kind of wet and whistle for you?
You know what I think I might do? If as a final test, I may have each coach hang out with this team in Miami Beach for like 10 days and see which ones that they relate to most. Just play some pickup games, do some stuff, and see who they really, really like. Or not maybe like, because you're not going to always like your coach, but who they can relate to, who stimulates them the most. Because I really think this Pistons team is not ready to win, but you want to see some signs of life. This Piston fan base is beaten up.
Yeah.
And at least if you're gonna go out there to see them lose, let it be entertaining. Let the guy out there in Section J say, you know what, they lost today, but I saw some defense today. I saw them talking. I saw them doing some things like that. So you need to build up to something. They're further behind than I thought they'd be at this point.
I agree with that. The injuries were a huge setback, and some of the talent not panning out the way they wanted. Yeah. The positioned ourselves injuries, you know, and some of the development, you know, we're not going to lie here. I thought Ivy was going to show a little bit better defensively to start the year. Cade, honestly, was a little bit better. Killian took some steps forward and then a lot of steps back, and then just kind of plateaued in an area that was like, we'll take it, but it's not what we need from him. It's not. I thought that when he said to start the year that he wanted to be a defensive leader, that he was going to absolutely come in here and at least, if your shot's not falling, right? How much? Look, we'll all laugh at 16%. And we would have all been like, hey, at 35%. If he was playing absolute, like 6 years ago, Marcus Smart defense and shooting only 35%, we would be like, yeah, Killian.
He'd have to be playing Dennis Rodman defense. I mean, come on now.
He has all the tools, man. I know we're talking about coaching right now, but I keep going back to that.
But
like,
effort. That's what I'm talking about. Somebody needs to reach them.
Some coach can reach.
Right.
Man, T, you know what? I like you, Terry.
I don't want that.
Look at that.
That coach.
What's my first thing? Can a new head coach unlock Killian Hayes? Now, look, I didn't prep with Uncle T here, man. I didn't. So it's just like
ESP.
I just wanted his just mind. I mean, you talking about somebody who's covered not just basketball, but the different eras of basketball and seen it. So it's like, though you were on the beat, you still covered basketball even after the beat.
I did, but I thought I would be too old thinking for you guys, because you say, T, tell me about a good defense or offensive run. I said, well, you got to attack the basket first. But that's the old
basketball
way.
is basketball, though. At the end of it, there's some changes and some wrinkles, and it's like what you're saying. When you get to the NBA level, what you're saying is right. Chuck Daly, no matter what we thought of him as a basketball mind, that hire was as much as cosmetic and as much as how does this fit with the players as it was who is he as a basketball coach. That's what when you see the whole persona of even Chuck Daly and how family they were, even Dennis Rodman saying, "No, that was like a father to me," and these guys, you hear that matters so much. Even Phil Jackson, he was saying, "Look, hey, we like your basketball mind, but right now he might serve a greater purpose at managing and connecting with these players."
Right. I think if you had like a coming to Jesus meeting with some of the Bad Boy Pistons, they wouldn't say Chuck Daly was a great coach. They would say he was cool. We can relate to him. And Chuck Daly played mind games with these dudes. He was able to make them believe they were making the decisions when actually he was. That's a real hard thing to do.
That's when you really connected with guys and they can trust your intention, trust where you're kind of guiding and leading them. And it's like, you're right. When you have a coach with these guys right now, if they're not ready to win and there might have been some setbacks, then you need that coach who can beyond motivate them and that coach who can beyond connect with them. Because there is a different level of player we see, like even with like guys like Andre Drummond, we see him get motivated and all of a sudden he plays differently. It's like these are young guys at the start of their career, and we don't want them to be motivated to just, we don't want them to be players that play only when they're kind of poked. But you want a coach who can kind of get them to this level where they're developing and not regressing. They're staying and not regressing. Like we saw good out of Killian. And then the season hit and the staff and everyone's like, we don't know what happened. We have to, it's like a switch was just flipped and now we have to figure something out. And it's just like, man, oh man, oh man, if we can get somebody that can come in and unlock some of these people, unlock some of these young guys, help take them to the next step, I think that is a little bit better right now than even the X's and O's. So I was like that too. I was like, maybe they can bring someone in who can be a part of the staff that is their job is the X's and O's and the scheme and to try new wrinkles and this and the other, and let the head coach be a guy who can connect with them, carry them and lead them professionally, lead them in a way. Look, in crunch time, you do want your general to be able to say, you know what, guys, this is what we're doing. You want your head coach to be able to say, this is who we're trusting in, or to know, as Cade Cunningham and some of these guys are stepping into their own, Cade got this time. Cade has this time. And I do believe that a younger coach is more apt to do that because some of the older coaches are sometimes set in their ways. Sometimes they want to be the last voice because I think they realize their opportunities are probably slim.
Yeah, and that's true. Here's what I want out of a coach.
Yeah.
To motivate the team and to call a good play, a good out of bounds play. Beyond that, just shut up and
we've had some bad out of bounds plays the last couple of years, man. We've had, oh my word, oh my goodness. We've had some bad designs. Even the timeout game with Ivy, we've had some bad out of bounds plays, man. And some plays that weren't bad, but they were just like, well, that was kind of basic. And it's just like, I don't know how much of it was personnel, how much of it was Casey, how much of it was a mix of the both. But I'm kind of looking forward to a coach. You're kind of getting me. Oh goodness, man! I feel like Charles Lee might be the mix of Jaron Collins and Kevin Ollie. Kind of give us the best of both worlds. The younger coach, the guy who's kind of connecting with people. He kind of has this persona of being able to connect with the new and more modern game. It feels like Charles Lee might be that guy. Like if we were ready to absolutely win now, kind of a team like where I believe the Pistons will be in 3 to 4 years, I feel like Jaron Collins will be the perfect coach for that setting then. A little bit older, that military vibe in him. Like, do our guys need a military coach right now?
No. No. Who's the NBA's Dan Campbell?
That's a great question.
Probably doesn't exist. But somebody like that.
I feel like it would be Kevin Ollie.
Maybe what's happening now, Troy Weaver likes him, wants to hire him, but from dealing with front office people, the old heads
I've
are
heard
like,
some
we
things.
can't deal with that.
I've
We
heard
need
some
more
things.
experience. And then Troy Weaver's like, hey, let's let this brother roll. And probably people are afraid of that.
Yo, you got me thinking because I was okay with him being a candidate. I thought he brought some good things to the table, but with where this team is right now, man, yo, he might be best suited. Kevin Ollie might be the guy. Hey,
Hey,
look,
we
you
just
got
hired him.
put in the chats, man. Seriously, put in the chats. What are you thinking about this coach? What are you thinking about this number 5 pick? Because there is a lot right now riding on this offseason. We talked about it up until this point. Troy Weaver was laying a foundation for this restoration. He said he wasn't going to go at anyone's pace. He was going to go at his own. He kind of knows what he's doing. There's a blueprint that's already been laid. They're looking at kind of what the Bad Boys did as well as some of his other experience. But that this offseason was in particularly crucial. This is the pressure one because you can't have your rebuilds going out, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You can't. They're in year 4 of Troy Weaver, his fourth draft. If he's not putting a team out there that is ready to compete, like he stated at the beginning of last year, and then got their injuries, it's going to be a lot of fans who turn on him. No, like T. people are heated, man.
I know.
People are heated. They're like, look, if he don't get it right, they're saying, look, we're just gonna give him this summer then. And they don't even want to do that. They're like, but who's he gonna get in free agency? Who's he gonna get in this draft? Look, we tanked just to fall to 5. People are saying this. If they don't, at least they're saying if the organization don't put them on a hot seat, fans are saying that they're gonna just be kind of up in arms. And it's like, wow, this is the summer to get it right.
Yeah, and the fans need to be more vocal, but do they really care? That's the big thing right there. I have a philosophy about what Troy Weaver is doing. I believe the reason he didn't get rid of Donovich and he didn't get rid of players and he added Wiseman is he's thinking this is a playoff team. In his mind, he's thinking they're a playoff team. So we're going to roll it back for next season, and then I'm going to keep all these veterans. I'm going to have these young guys grow up a little bit more. I'll get my coach in here, and they're going to be competing for a playoff spot next year.
That's a whole new wrinkle. So what you're saying is this: Troy Weaver absolutely believes in the work that he's been doing the last 3 years. Absolutely believes in the players he's brought in, believes that they're at this foundational level to compete, brought in some vets, recognized a couple tools he needs to fill this summer, but he's like, I know we're there. And you know what? That was something I was sitting back saying, everyone is pissed that we missed out on Wemby. We have a number 1 pick. If they did a redraft, Deshaun Ivey might go higher than where he went. They got Duren. We know this man would go top 5 or at least top 7 if they did a redraft. They have players right now that other organizations, if they got these same types of players, we'd be saying, well, y'all got to win. These are your guys. These are whether you get Wemby or not. Wemby would have been like, I'm not going to say a cherry on top. Wemby would have been a top layer of a fruitcake and whipped cream and then a cherry on top. He would have been that. It would have been an absolute all right, you guys, your expectations are different. Your window to win is no longer, we're trying to get this together. We need this coach to get it together. I would have accelerated things at least a year. Get there a little bit sooner. Without that, though, I first I was like, okay, well, maybe they'll need a couple more years. But no, we're sitting here saying that Cade Cunningham is a star. We said this after year 1. A lot of people looked at the stats. They saw where he started year 2. We saw what Jaden Ivey did, especially post All-Star break, second half of the season. And he's going out there and he's at least scoring like 25, 29, 30 points. Facilitating, going out there and averaging like 8 assists, 6 or 7 to 8 assists per game in the second half of the season. Jalen Duren, give that man 30 minutes a game. This squad should be better. I think that their expectations shouldn't be, well, they're going to go out there next year and just be another lottery team. I don't believe that should be in their minds. I don't think that people should expect that because when you look at the squad, they are young, but they should be much more scrappier than they showed this last year. I truly believe that. They should be a little bit better. They should have honestly, a little bit better defense. When you're talking about adding Cade Cunningham back to the lineup, Killian Hayes and his usage and his roles now changing. You're adding Jaden Ivey, who's saying, hey, I'm working vehemently at defense and getting this thing better. And if they can plug this 3-and-D wing, it can't be with Isaiah Livers. I love Isaiah Livers, but this is that whole notion. Isaiah Livers, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes. I love these. I love at least what Stewart and Isaiah Livers have in here. But if these are the guys that you're kind of depending on as your starters or wholeheartedly for a playoff or championship run, I think it's something that it's never going to come to fruition, honestly.
To me, Livers is the dude you have coming off the bench at some point.
Right.
But the other thing about them, and maybe this was a blessing in disguise for Ivy, he felt this was his team this year. Now he's going to go back to a secondary role because Cade Cunningham is coming back. But he had a taste of running a team. He had a taste of being the man, at least in the backcourt. And so this may bode well for him to make him a better player in the long run.
Yeah, definitely, because that's the big thing everybody wants to see, this Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey backcourt, and not just the backcourt, but what is the hierarchy? And I think that the way that Cade Cunningham plays and the fact that, Cade Cunningham effectively hey, shout out JB rocking the Woodward Pistons shirt. Cade Cunningham in that post All-Star break run, this is what's crucial. The Pistons went from like 200% winning to 400%. 400%, man. Like they were like 42% winning percentage post All-Star break with Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant, Marvin Bagley. That was basically it. That was the show. And those guys, his stats were moving his team forward, and it's what built that hope as we went into last year's draft and offseason. This season, I love what Ivy did, but it didn't necessarily translate to moving the team into wins. We know they were tanking. We know the roster was a little bit different. But you're right. I think that it kind of puts things in a perspective. Not that Ivy goes and kind of gets diminutive or just, defers to Cade Cunningham, but that Jaden Ivey, I think he knows this is Cade's team. But the way that Cade plays, he's going to distribute the ball. He's looking like even his style of basketball. Cade Cunningham distributes heavily in the first quarter of the game. Sometimes it pisses me off. I'm like, bro, hit the mid-range until they stop you. You are our best offensive player. I think he's our best facilitator. But score, like he's so unselfish that when he hits that mid, I take the shot and make it. You're going to open up so much more for your guys.
Michael Jordan. Later in his career, Michael Jordan would facilitate in the first quarter. In the second and third quarter, he's like, okay, I'm going to be unstoppable.
Cade knows what he's doing then.
Then he would read. Yeah, he'd read the last 5-6 minutes. Everybody thinks Jordan took the final shot all the time. No, he didn't. He would give it to Steve Kerr, BJ Armstrong. If you open, shoot it. You better make it. I'm giving you the ball. But that's what he did. He read the court very well. Another guy, LeBron James.
Similar.
Reads the game as well as anybody in NBA history. Because he was criticized early in his career. Well, okay, LeBron,
for passing too much and passing the big shots.
Why didn't you take that shot? So I think LeBron is saying, okay, should I take a shot with 3 people in my face, or should I pass it to this dude who's wide open? And he said, basketball tells you to make the right play. And I think he said, I'm making the right play. So that's the way it should be.
And when you have those types of players who, you got players who are good facilitators, you got your Ricky Rubios and things like that. But when you have those guys who are also unstoppable, Cade is 6'6", 6'7". Cade is able to kind of get any shot that he wants. He's getting to the rim and he's dunking. He's getting into the lane and he's getting his layups. He's getting floaters. He's getting the mid-range shots, and he's hitting threes. Then he's hitting step-back threes. Cade Cunningham is a 3-level scorer who can really get anywhere he wants. He's not the fastest, but because he can facilitate and because he can utilize the pick-and-roll game so well, it opens up the whole court. I don't think we're going to see some crazy dip between he and like Jaden Ivey. I don't think that all of a sudden these guys are fighting and hogging and this and that. I think that Cade Cunningham is going to be fine with letting Jaden Ivey kind of get his in that first quarter. And as they get into crunch time, as they get into like that third quarter, we're going to probably see Cade Cunningham hitting and daggering a lot of those middies that we've come to know him to do.
Yeah, Cade doesn't strike me as the guy. You know what? I got to get mine. Got to. I think he'd rather just walk off the court as a winner. And there's a difference.
I was about to ask, should he be in I got to get mine? But when you qualified it with he just wants to walk off the court a winner, that's different. Because a winner, he will know when it's time to get his. That's different. He will know, hey, look, the team don't got it, or the team do have it, or the team does have it. And you know where to get that from? First quarter. Go out there and probe. If you think you're that guy, then I guess it gives you kind of this comfort. This is probably why he does it.
Right.
We saw him win games.
You should talk to Greg Campy, coach at Oakland University. They played Cade, and so Cade is just doing his thing for 35, 36 minutes.
I got to get out there and talk to him.
So Oakland is thinking, yeah, he's good, but we can compete against him. Last 6 minutes of a game, he just took over. There's nothing they could do. They called timeout, they double team, they triple team, they did some goofy defense, but he was like, this is my time now, so I'm going to take over. So he can take over when he wants to.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And I get it. We need to see more of it. We need to see him healthy. He put some on wax his first year, and then as he got comfortable in the second year before he bowed out, he put stuff on wax. He was just scoring so easily. That's the thing that I love about it. It looks effortless. And it reminds me, like you said, you're talking about like kind of how LeBron James makes the game look. A lot of people they compare him to Grant Hill, Cade, and I think it's just a Piston thing.
I would agree with that.
And I like certain aspects of it, but from a standpoint of how he sees the game, I'm hoping he continues to trajectorize similarly to LeBron James. I'm not saying he's going to be the same player that LeBron is, because the physicality, the athleticism, and all of that, that's completely in an era of its own. But in terms of the way that Cade Cunningham sees the floor and the type of dog that he is when that 5-minute mark hits in the game, it's absolutely phenomenal. I remember his draft tape, man. ESPN was just like, hey, he was the most clutch player in college basketball. He looks to continue that on when he gets to the NBA. Do you know how funny that sounds? Because usually these guys don't come in and they're just now all of a sudden the clutch players. Cade Cunningham was one of the most clutch players as a rookie. As a rookie, one of the most clutch players, and I think top 5 in terms of being double teamed as a rookie.
Yeah. You want to hear a dirty little secret about your NBA?
Let me hear it.
There's a bunch of dudes afraid to take that shot in the last 4 minutes of the game. You pass it to me, I'm passing it back. I don't want that damn thing. They play hot potato.
You take your pump fake?
Right.
Oh, I was covered, man. The defense was there. Let me get that back up top to you, brother.
They don't want to take that shot. Now, 15 minutes left in the first half, they'll sink that shot with their eyes closed. We give it to them with 2:15 left, and it's a tight game. I'm passing that mug out of here. You take it.
Man, oh man. So that just, I don't know, man. That harkens back to the beginning of this whole thing. We got a nice skeleton. They got to put some meat on the bones defensively, as well as offensive player that doesn't need the ball in their hands to be effective. They gotta find their Tayshaun Prince, basically. That's kind of what they're short right now. Of somebody who, whether they're younger or older, they're gonna have to carry themselves a little bit differently, a little bit more mature, a little bit more professionally. Somebody, because we want the vet. We hope that it can be a vet, somebody who can come in and absolutely have that voice. I don't know which way he's gonna go, because I'm looking at this free agency market. Goodness gracious, man. It's not pretty. Like, what, they got to cash out on Jeremy Grant to get that?
Yeah, I was so disappointed to hear that Jeremy Grant might be coming back. I'm like, really? Is that it? Is that
you know the price tag, man?
Yeah. But
30, would you give him 35 a year?
No, when he played here, he played like a dude that was playing for his next team. I'm showcasing myself. I thought he showcased himself here in Detroit. I don't want a showcaser back. Let him go somewhere else. But he is a vet, and I want a vet.
Yeah, it's like, from the standpoint of, I thought he took some steps forward in this game. I thought he showed he can play within the system, playing out there in Portland. If it happened, I wouldn't be mad at it. I kind of tease it all the time, the Jeremy Grant reunions. People are probably mad at me for that, but I wouldn't be mad at it. I honestly, Rod Beard and I, we sat here and talked about it. Like, would you cash out on him? Or would you take a swing on Grant Williams? And we were just like, whoa. When you put it like that, like what the market actually is, it's like the only proven commodity that I feel comfortable cashing out on is Jeremy Grant in terms of just free agents. If they can play around in a restricted free agent market or go out there and identify a disgruntled star, which there are a lot of disgruntled stars, then fine. Go out there and do it. What do you think? I think before we wrap up here, man, some of these disgruntled stars, the Celtics, they're kind of they staved off elimination. Jason Tatum absolutely crushed. But there are people who are stating and rumors coming out and articles being written that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, maybe it's time to, or at least asking the question, is it time to break them up? You hear some of the comments from Jaylen Brown. What do you think about guys like that, teams like that, when you're talking about this 5th pick and you're talking about trying to go after these disgruntled stars? Is there a star that you see out there? And what do you think? Because fans are like, hey, get Jaylen Brown to Detroit. What's the plausibility of that?
Probably not high, but I would try. My problem with Boston is I didn't recognize the team from night in and night out. Sometimes you watch them and say, oh, nobody's going to beat this team. And then they show up the next game. And I'm like, who the hell are these guys? They are way inconsistent at a higher level than the Pistons. But, they need something. They need somebody to say, fellas, you got to show up every night.
They need one of those voices you was talking about.
Right.
Jaylen Brown, I don't even know how plausible it is. Like you said, I when I hear the name, I don't even know what the Pistons have to be able to trade for a Jaylen Brown. I have no idea. I don't want to overestimate our assets. James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley, and these guys will maybe get us an extra first-round pick. They are not getting us Jaylen Brown. That's not happening. The teams that line up for it is just crazy. But if Troy found a way to do it, it would be like, wow, okay, cool, amazing. He filled that 3-and-D spot. He already knows how to kind of play second fiddle. Obviously, we got some young guys here that are kind of chomping at the bits to get going. But I don't know. I'm looking at the market. Obviously, there are people out there who like Cam Johnson and they've said Grant Williams. But man, it's not a pretty market for that kind of what Troy Weaver called the one tool that they are lacking. And that's that 3-and-D wing. So,
and I would imagine the whole league is going to be after Jaylen Brown. So there's really no guarantees you're going to get him. And I think he is a little bit lost because he knows Tatum is a very talented guy and he's got to take those shots. But he would have to be more assertive here in Detroit. And that's going to be tough because, as Bogdanovich just said, this is Cade Cunningham's team. They go team. as Cade goes, but is Cade willing, and I think he will, is he willing to get him more involved in the offense? Because Cade is a guy that I'm going to go back to Will Robinson. Will Robinson, a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, that's a drop.
Used to tell Isaiah Thomas, your job is not to make you look good. Your job is to make John Sally look good. It's to make Rick Mahorn look good. It's to make Bill Laimbeer look good. And it seems to me Cade has that mentality. But at the same time, Cade's got at times has to say, hey, screw y'all. I'm hitting this. All right. Love you, but this is my shot. This is my this is my 4 or 5 minutes to show out.
Yep. Yeah, and you know what, guys, this is effectively our Cade zone as we wrap up. I think that obviously this thing rides with Cade Cunningham. The health is going to be most important. Obviously, they shut him down, told him to just get this thing right. It wasn't as if he got injured and then he had to have season-ending surgery. This was something preemptive. Let's get you right. You'll be practicing. You guys saw the boxing clips with Tommy Hearns and all that. I saw what Cade and Ivy were out there boxing with him, man. He looks strong, man. The calves.
Tommy still fight?
Well, at his gym, I forget who they were actually sparring with, but they look good. They gotta kind of work on the form. I'm not gonna talk much because my form is probably. I look like a rock'em sock'em. No,
I have no form, man. I be fighting like this. Hey, get away, get away!
Like an NBA fight.
Yeah. Well,
everybody's swinging. Nobody hitting anything.
This shadow boxing class.
Yeah.
And I had to watch myself in the mirror throwing punches. I'm like, man, anybody can kick my ass. Anybody. You get like a 5-year-old. I was so embarrassed, but I tried.
Oh man, bro, I feel you on that one. I feel you on that one. But you're right, man. Cade is, and I say this often, he is the straw that stirs the drink, man. As long as he's the guy doing what he's supposed to be doing, I think that they have enough around him right now. Obviously, this offseason matters, but in terms of the co-stars, the players he can depend on, I like Duren. I really like Ivy. I like the fact that they want to make it work. They want to play for each other. And that Cade, he said, Ivy, I wanted to play with him, I wanted to work with him, wanted to win with him, but he's a good guy, and that makes me want to do it even more. So
now I don't want to scare you.
Hey, talk to me.
But a clock is ticking. A clock is ticking, and when it rings, Cade is going to be saying, peace out. He's taking his buffs off. He's getting the hell out of here, or wants to get out of here. I don't know when that's going to be, probably when he's 26 or 27. But if there's not winning, and I don't mean, you don't have to win the NBA title, but if he doesn't feel like he's playing meaningful games, if he doesn't feel like he's in a playoff series and it's like 2-2 and we're going to game 5 and if he's not in that situation, he's going to say, peace out, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. So they got to get their stuff together.
They do. And I'm going to continue to say this, guys, as we wrap. This offseason is a pivotal one. You still trust in Troy. If you're going to have a GM where you're going to drop in the draft like this year, you kind of want a guy like Troy. In terms of all the other GMs we've had, they've been kind of linear. They pick their point guard. They stick with their point guard, even if that point guard's bad. If one of these other GMs picked Killian, we would have never picked a Jaden Ivey. Instead, Troy picked 3 point guards in a row. Like, we will get this right. So I do believe that Troy is going to get busy. You referenced that Bojan Bogdanovic. You referenced that Hoops Hype article. Bojan Bogdanovic also stated that Troy Weaver said he's going to get absolutely busy this offseason. So I don't know what he has up his sleeve. I didn't know where the Jeremy Grant thing came from. It wasn't like we went into the offseason believing, oh, hey, they're going to sign this. Oh, hey, they're going to sign that. Oh, they're going to we thought they had nothing. And then Jeremy Grant popped up out of nowhere, $20 million a year. We're like, what is this? What happened? And then the next year with Bojan Bogdanovic, these weren't even disgruntled stars. So I'm hoping that Troy Weaver has some stuff up his sleeves. I believe that they need a hefty infusion of talent, but I stopped just short. I want to try and give these former draft picks, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart. I want to give these guys an opportunity, even Killian Hayes, Isaiah Livers. I want to see what they can do. I don't feel like expectations should be lowered on first overall picks.
Every name you mention has potential, but every name you mention may not reach their potential. So that's what we need to find out.
It's going to be a big year. Last year was the year where we told you all that they want to make decisions on Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and that hand was tipped when they went and accepted or activated all of their player options. We still yet to be seen what's going to happen with Isaiah Stewart and Killian Hayes. We don't know. We have no idea. For this team to get better, they're going to have to upgrade some of these positions. Even if they have some of these same players on the team next year, they're still going to have to upgrade the positions. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to be fireworks. It's either going to be like the grand bang or it's going to be fizzled out. I don't see where they can just kind of do something in the middle here, too.
All right. Yeah. The Wings and the Pistons now I think are at a point where they need to be aggressive. And both Wiseman and Troy Weaver are taking the cautious approach, which is what Brad Holmes did with the Lions. But at some point, you got to say, okay, we're going to tear the walls down. And I don't know if the Pistons can tear the walls down now, but they do need to bring in a vet who can play. Somebody 27, 28, 29 years old. Maybe got a little attitude to him. Probably won't be the nicest guy in the world, especially to his teammates, but they probably need that now. Because Romper Room is over.
They're there now. They got guys. The exit interviews.
I'm sorry, do you know what Romper Room is, young fella? I just mentioned stuff. I'm like, you start looking. What's he talking about?
I have an idea.
You know what it is?
I have an idea.
Okay. They had a little song on there. They put a basket on the hit. Don't you let this basket fall.
Yo, man, the legend, man. And that's the words there. We're gonna let that be the last word.
Kangaroo's done. Or romper room is done.
Kango. That's the place you wear your Kango hat.
Yeah.
Romper room. I like it.
Do that.
Well, look, T, this was fun, man. Look, I'm gonna have to have you on more. I'm trying to make sure that we have trusted basketball minds on here more as well. I love what Rod does. He's gonna be on still weekly. I'm gonna have to have you on more as well because I like
Rod's a little more professional than
me. But I like the different takes, man. I like to, it's in this craft and in this industry. I want to make sure that I'm seeing the game and being able to accept and understand other people's perspectives. Like, you're a professional in this. This isn't just two guys sitting down talking basketball. This is you bringing your perspective from years of covering the game and being up close and personal for over 9 years on the beat. You know how these things click. The NBA, though it's just basketball, there's another layer added on top of the NBA with the production value, with the egos, with the money, with all of these other little things where by the time you get to the NBA, you've had so much skill that now you need someone to connect with you. You've had so much training, so much up and down. That's why I love the perspective you brought. A lot of what you brought today was about what you saw when you covered the beat was how people connected to people. More so than even X's and O's. And you even said with the Bad Boys and Chuck Daly, it might not say he was the greatest coach. He's a great connector, great person, great probably leader and visionary.
Yeah, I'm going to shock you with something.
Tell me something.
I'm not going to say the player, but I asked the player who played for the Bad Boys what they thought about Chuck Daly being the dream team coach. He said it's a fucking embarrassment.
That is a shock. but it makes sense. It makes some sense, man. I'm sitting here just like, you know what? It's gonna be interesting to see what the Pistons do from here. And honestly, if that young coach comes in here and he does what he does and augments his staff, I don't see there really being a purpose or a necessity for them to go out there and find that later Larry Brown. If this coach grows with them the right way, I am hoping they find their Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, I really do. Spoelstra Brown is the next guy. This guy needs to wake these guys up.
Just as a new day.
When the other guy comes in, they're like, yeah, okay, coach, you ready.
So they're already on the treadmill running. I got that. Look, y'all, I need you guys to definitely put a drum roll in the comments for the legend. We're going to get him drum rolled out of here real quick. This was dope. I'm going to get Jeff Fire Freddy on something later. He wound up getting caught up.
Yeah, what did he do? He just left you. Huh?
He just got caught up in everything. But that's what we call him, Mr. Everything. We're going to get him on some other content a little bit later on in the week. And we're going to talk about Taylor Hendricks. Just in case the Detroit Pistons don't do what Uncle T wants us to do and trade that pick. We're going to talk about some guys. Rod's going to come back next week, and we're going to talk about Cam Whitmore. And we're going to try and get into these Thompson twins as well, man. A lot of people are kind of down on them, but I know, hey, Kevin Ali, some people, they're like, hey, I'm looking at the film. They're young players. You take these guys for potential where you believe they can go. So,
and talk to Jeff about his drink.
The Juicy.
Just Juicy.
Just Juicy.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that.
It might be a little bit too strong for him, but I think he can handle it.
We have to talk about that, man.
Juicy drink. It's only out in the summer.
Y'all know me rocking with the clear Kool-Aid. Definitely stay hydrated. It's hot out there. But you guys, let's get this drum roll going for the legend over here. As always, my name is Brandon Dent, a.k.a. DetroitKoolAid, rocking out with the Woodward Pistons podcast for Jeff Fire Freddy and Detroit News Rod Beer. We're going to get this drum roll going for the legend over here. Hey, yo! Shout out to the legend.
Y'all be
Terry
good.
Foster, man. Yo, this is a dope one.
Yeah, bam.
This is a dope one. Till next time, you all. Till next time.
Peace.